Hi guys, this is Jeremy. Thanks for watching. So I decided to do my research about the idea of information literacy and how I could use existing research and people who have already written scope and sequences to help me long range plan for my classes in the Library Media Center. Um, and I was able to find actually a lot of information about that. So, as I finish projects, part of my favorite thing to do is to think back on what did I actually learn from that. And so I've enjoyed that process probably the most. So, I discovered a lot of useful things through my research on this topic. The first one, and the one that I'm most excited about, and I'll talk about a little bit in my takeaways, was the Association of College and Research Libraries Scope and Sequence. So they actually did a lot of work, some researchers from a university, along with some actual librarians and teachers from a school district, and they developed a long range plan. Um, Actually, it's not a long range plan, it's more of a scope and sequence where it breaks down information literacy skills into K2 and 3.5 and really talks about is what you need to do to teach those topics. So that was probably my biggest discovery as I dug in. Another thing that I really appreciated was the Grand Island Central School District in New York did a lot of work around this, and they took it even further by grade level. Um, and so I am going to use that as I do some of my long range planning for each grade level. I also was really excited about common sense education, and actually something that was really surprising to me as I dug in. So, a few years back, they had a great scope and sequence with clickable links that were all based on information literacy. And as I tried to click on the links and look at the lesson plans so that I could use them in my library, they weren't available anymore. And the more that I looked, they have kind of gone away from that information literacy topic and are using now news and media literacy. Um, the lesson plans are not as readily available. They're not exactly what I was looking for in terms of what I read about what information literacy is and how important it is to teach kids. So it actually was kind of disheartening. I will say that through that study, I did find that Common Sense Education has a ton of really great grab and go resources that you can use to teach lots of different technology skills that I wasn't really aware of in the past. So the process of digging in and actually going to those sites and reading was really great for me. And I think that I'm going to be able to use a lot of them in the classroom going forward. So I just really liked the whole process.
I had two really important takeaways during my research. The first of which was found just in the basic what is information literacy, what are the experts saying about it. And I found a professor named David, I don't know how to say his last name, it's like Letcher maybe. And he is a former president of the American Library Association, and now he is a professor at a university. And he said this. Well, first he talked about how before there was lots of access to technology, finding information was just finding the right book. And so librarians were just teaching how to find the right book, how to look in nonfiction, what a table of contents was for. And now it has grown to be kind of more of an all-encompassing responsibility. He said today finding information through electronic information services or on the internet is usually the least of the researchers' worries. The problem is what to do with the pile of information that comes spewing forth from the search engines. And I thought that was a really interesting way of thinking about it. It's not even knowing where to go on the internet, it's how to search, how to use all the results. And I think that's really important as a library media specialist. in teaching kids how to just make sense of all the information that's out there, how to find what's reliable. I think you said it in a really great way, and it kind of made me think differently about my actual work in teaching information literacy. My second takeaway that I know that I will be using readily comes from the Association of College and Research Libraries. They partnered with, I talked about this a little bit, some librarians and teachers to create a scope and sequence. And I think it does a really good job of breaking it into K2 and 3-5 strands. This is probably my favorite, maybe not favorite, but the one that I know that I will use right away. And it talks about keyword searches, which really ties in to the professor's research about how to use what we find on the internet. And it takes it into smaller pieces that are manageable for primary grades. And so I've already started some of my lesson planning for late January, and we're going to start looking at some keyword search terms and then determining how that affects the results that we get. So I know that this scope and sequence is going to be readily available for me. I've already printed it, it's on my desk. And it just helps me kind of build my knowledge of what it looks like to grow those skills throughout the elementary grades, which is exactly what I was looking for.
Created using Powtoon.